So let me get this straight. Last month's chapter, after investigation, Sasuke came to the conclusion that there's Otsutsuki caliber threats still operating in the midst, possibly tied to Kata. This month's chapter, Naruto assumes that Kata could potentially be involved with this loss of communication to Konohamaru in this crash site, this blimp. And so what does Naruto decide to do? Send a bunch of kids out there to investigate this. Dang, Naruto's trying to defeat Ging from Hunter x Hunter for Father of the Year award. He's trying to have his son get bodied out there. Because even though Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki are no average genin by any means, they are not Otsutsuki caliber. I mean, yes, Boruto technically defeated Momoshiki. 99% of the work was done by Naruto and Sasuke. I mean, there was a Jonin with Konohamaru who got completely wrecked. And this Jonin told Konohamaru to run away, knowing that Konohamaru was probably no match for him, right? And the last thing we've seen from Konohamaru, by the way, is him looking at the assailant. So now we're going to send these kids out here. And there is a big chance that a month will come by, we'll get the next chapter, and nothing will happen. Maybe Konohamaru gets wrecked or whatever, he survives, or maybe he ran away with Mugino or Mujino, however you pronounce his name, and then this threat, which we don't know exactly what it is. We do know it's possibly tied to Kata because they're the ones who were talking about this vessel that was lost. Maybe this thing will go away somewhere, I don't know. Again, I don't know, it's all speculation at this point. I don't see Konohamaru really dying, and I don't really see these kids fighting off this threat either, because if they're anywhere near Otsutsuki caliber, you're going to have Naruto, Sasuke get involved. There's no other way around it, right? Or at the very least, another Kage level ninja. Boruto and these kids, they can't really do anything right here. Guys, I really hope this long wait is worth it, because we're going to be waiting month to month to month, and keep in mind, it's already been 2 or 3 chapters, and we still haven't really gotten a full chapter with Konohamaru. That's what I want to see. I want to see Konohamaru actually fight. Let's see if he could end up being the next Hokage. So if it turns out Konohamaru gets wrecked and the vessel's still there, and we got Boruto, Sarada, and Mitsuki actually putting the vessel down, maybe the new 7 swordsmen were put down, or the Mujina bandits were put down, I don't know if the Boruto manga could personally recover from that kind of damage. According to Shikamaru, if somehow had caused it to crash, they would have never noticed it, right? So that means this was not supposed to happen, and what I'm kind of getting at here is that there are some kind of traitors in the midst. There is somebody funding this operation, and whoever that is the enemy. What's more likely to happen is that Boruto and Sarada are going to end up encountering Ao, because maybe Konohamaru gets bodied by the vessel, something like that happens, but I really doubt these kids are going to end up fighting the vessel. If anybody is going to fight the vessel, it's again going to be Naruto, Sasuke, or somebody on their level, someone closer to their level. Ao, on the other hand, is cocky. He hasn't been in combat for 16 years, although he did use Genjutsu on Katasuke, meaning that he probably got some of the best technology that he had, on top of the fact that he does have a Byakugan, of course. But he isn't even in, the main part of the organization. He's, one of the outers, so I think he's going to get bodied, and I think that's going to eventually make Boruto and some of the other characters on Kata's radar, because whereas initially they weren't worried about them, eventually they will. Now, majority of this chapter was spent at this research institute, and we find out that Sumire is indeed alive. She is in the manga. She was not killed off, and she's now a part of this research team, apparently working for Katasuke's division. And it's kind of conflicting with the anime, because in the recent episode, Sumire exclaimed that she now wanted to become a shinobi as she summoned the Nue to help Boruto catch the fish, giving, Boruto Nue's chakra. So it's weird that she's now a part of the research team. I'm guessing she's still technically a shinobi, but any potential for her to be a kick-ass kunoichi in battle is very slim now. And I'm guessing it makes sense because, again, we haven't seen her in the manga up until now, and at the end of the day, the main kick-ass kunoichi is Sarada. So it would be kind of weird to give her the spotlight, although she could have ended up becoming Sarada's main kunoichi rival. That could have been a thing. If I could be honest with you guys, the most interesting conclusion I drew from Sumire's entrance in the manga, we find out that she didn't participate in the Chunin exams, because it makes sense because we didn't see her in the movie. She's there looking like a schoolgirl, serving all them drinks. The most important conclusion I drew from her being in the manga is that Iwabe is most likely in the manga as well as Denki. But we ain't really worried about Denki, we're worried about Iwabe, right? Because not only is Iwabe a very interesting character, being one of the most powerful of his generation, you know, anybody around his age, including Boruto, Mitsuki, Sarada, but there's been a theory floating around for a long time that Iwabe could end up being Kawaki. Now, I am not fully on board that theory simply because it's like, they gotta explain the appearance, number one, because, you know, Iwabe got a darker skin tone, but again, it would conflict a little bit with the timeline because we had already seen Kawaki earlier on in the manga. He was randomly spotted in the village, so he's kind of like older, so how would they explain that unless they plan on, you know, doing Iwabe's character completely different, which would be really odd because they didn't do Sumine's character completely different. They explained the fact that she didn't participate in the Chunin exams and she knew Boruto and the rest of them from the class. So why would they do Sumine's character consistent but not Iwabe's? The theme of this chapter is that Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki are going to try out all this new technology, that Katasuke is working on, like this flash bomb, and you got this room of silence, you got these gloves and these boots that allow you to basically like climb high walls and stuff so that you could utilize your own chakra. You have to focus all of that on just, you know, climbing. We even have a sword that manifests your chakra into a blade that Boruto uses at the end, but according to Katasuke, it's not really practical. And all I can say about this technology is that none of this is going to be used at the end of the day for the shinobi that like we're going to really be focusing on. All of this technology is going to be like all the fodder. Like mostly it's the fodder that's going to be using this technology. Because those three are so biologically gifted, and Mitsuki had all that technological stuff in advance before he was actually born, right? Like he was genetically designed to be superior. These three aren't going to need any of these things. And that's just me being honest with you. So they focus all this chapter on technology, but in the back of my head I'm like, okay, the common shinobi, yeah, this is going to be like the world to them. To Boruto, to Sarada, to Mitsuki, nah. And so I don't know if all of this was used as an excuse to see Sarada in these weird sexual positions as Mitsuki's using his body modification on her, you know, wrapping up around her body and stuff. And again, like, we know about how Sarada has been just over-sexualized throughout this manga so far. Like, what is she still doing with the high heels? Like, honestly, like, why is she even dressed like this? Like, what are they doing to Sarada? Like, what's the point of having Sarada look like this when your audience is still younger? It just comes off kind of creepy, and the message didn't really stick. So what they tried to push is that, oh, because Sarada uses technology, she was able to defeat Boruto and Mitsuki. And if I could end chapter 18 off on one note, is that I still do not trust Katasuke. Like, I know Ao took control of him and he used genjutsu on him, and I know he acted like really weird in the fight against Momoshiki, but in the end we find out that it wasn't really him, and that's why he was so shocked. I still don't trust this guy. He is clearly still corrupt, still only acting in self-interest to some degree, and maybe he's kind of like Danzo. So Danzo, he really believed he was doing the right thing, but he was also selfish. That was the layer stacked on top of him feeling righteous, and that's a deadly combination. So whereas he's creating all this technology and science and he's helping the world, in the end, he's also looking out for himself the most so that he can continue doing that. And that means he's willing to go the extra mile to even dirty up his hands to ensure that the bigger picture is accomplished. But his bigger picture is just his bigger picture. It doesn't mean everybody's going to agree with that. So that's where I feel like this guy could end up being evil. Let me know what you guys think. Did you enjoy this chapter? Do you think Konohamaru is getting bodied? Do you think we're about to see a fight between Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki, and Ao?